Welcome to Barbecue Catering Smarts, the go-to podcast for barbecue operators looking to grow and streamline their catering operations. Every episode, we're serving up expert advice, proven systems, and flavorful strategies straight from top leaders in the barbecue and catering world. So fire up the pit. It's time for another sizzling episode.
Hello again, I'm Michael Attias, your host of Barbecue Catering Smarts, and today's guest is Tim Halls, co-founder of Burnt BBQ N Tacos. Tim is building a standout brand that blends traditional barbecue with bold taco-driven flavors, creating a concept that's gaining real traction. He's focused not just on great food, but on building demand, growing a loyal following, and turning that into catering opportunities. From differentiation to driving event revenue, Tim brings a fresh perspective on how barbecue operates and grow, and we're excited to have him on the show today. But before we get started, let's take a minute to recognize our sponsor, Caters-In Catering Software. They help barbecue restaurants turn their catering chaos into calm. Discover why barbecue restaurants trust Caters-In to save them time and increase catering sales. Go to catersin.com and sign up for a walkthrough of the software. Now let's dive into this episode of Barbecue Catering Smarts. Welcome, Tim. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you, Michael?
Great. I appreciate you being here. You're in Plano, Texas?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So you got a, before I get into icebreaker question and asking you for a number between 1 and 300, you've got quite a rep. You know, you're making bold claims. You're doing tacos and barbecue in a state that's known for both. So that's pretty bold.
Yes, but now in the last couple of years, we have integrated Venezuelan as well.
I saw that in your site. We could talk about that, but let's get an icebreaker question because I can get sidetracked.
Sure.
Give me a number between 1 and 300.
264.
The question is, what's your favorite way to spend a fall afternoon?
Sitting by a lake.
Nice. I love water. Definitely love water. Do you fish?
I used to do a lot of things.
I tell people I like to go catching, not fishing. So if they're biting, take me. If not, I'm staying home. So tell me how you got started with this business. Because, we got barbecue, we got tacos, and now Venezuelan.
Yeah.
Where did this all come from? Do you have a background in the restaurant business?
So this is actually my second career. My first career is I drove ambulance for about 10 years.
Wow.
And in Montana. And so my dad actually owned the ambulance service. So he was getting ready to sell. And he says, if there's anything you want to do in life, do it now. So I ultimately went to culinary school just because I love to cook and I was pretty good at it. And I come from a good line of my grandmother and my mom were really good cooks. So
nice.
That's kind of the way I went. So I ended up going to Scottsdale Culinary Institute in Scottsdale, Arizona. I actually kind of just fell into it. I started making a barbecue sauce, and that's what prompted me to learn how to do brisket and ribs and all that.
So how old were you when you went to culinary school?
I was 29.
Okay, so earlier in your life, right? So you worked in the family business and then there was a pivot and you saw this opportunity. Well, when did you open this restaurant and how did you come up with the concept?
So I worked with a friend of mine that I went to culinary school with, and he had a food truck. And so I worked for him on his food truck, and he sold lobster rolls. And they're really good. He was from Maryland, so he knew that sector very well. But we found that we needed people that don't like fish. I always played with barbecue after that anyways, kind of self-taught anyways. So we do pulled pork or we do brisket or smoked salmon as an alternative to the lobster. And so that started taking off.
And you did tacos or you did like sandwiches and plates?
So we did a little bit of everything across the board. Sliced brisket, ribs. We even at one point in time we're doing like a yuca fry with pulled pork on top, and it was really good.
So was this in Scottsdale or?
No, this is in Texas.
Okay, so
this is around 2015. So I graduated culinary school in 1997 and moved to Plano. And so he started the food truck here like 2014.
So were you
So
working for restaurants, hotels? Like, what was your culinary background after you got out of school?
I originally, I first went back to Montana and I worked at a fly fishing ranch on the
Cool.
Yellowstone River for summer. Ended up working at the local airport, making meals for airplanes. And then a buddy of mine, another guy I went to school with, called me and says, "Hey, the German restaurant here in Plano is hiring." And we used to hang out here because I did my externship here in Plano
Okay.
at an Italian restaurant. And so he says, "Hey, Bavarian Grill's hiring, you know, why don't why don't you interview?" And so I got hired, and so I moved back to Texas, and I've been back here ever since.
Okay. So that's how you ended up in Texas. Your friend has
Yeah.
a lobster roll food truck, and y'all start riffing on some other stuff to expand the sales opportunities. You're
Yeah.
learning
Yeah.
barbecue.
So we did when I first moved here. I worked at the German restaurant for about 2 years. Worked at a couple different hotels. I ended up working for a deli restaurant called Baker Brothers American Deli for about 10 years. And then I decided I really wanted to go back into the culinary and work in a kitchen. So I ran it's called Inner Health, but it was a drug and alcohol rehab center. So I was the executive chef there for about 4 years and learned a lot. And because I was cooking everything from breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then, my friend Brett, he called and says, "Hey, I want you to help me with this food truck." And I was actually working at a meat market back then. And so I converted over after him talking to me a lot about it. So long story short, he was opening a brick and mortar in Uptown instead of the food truck. And like the week before he was open, there was a local food hall here and they wanted them to put his lobster rolls in that food hall in Plano. So I was running that store, but we actually opened that food hall the day that everybody shut down for COVID. So
My
we
God.
opened. And so we ended up we worked all the way through COVID. We were slinging family meals and feeding people and doing all kinds of stuff just to make some ends meet
Right.
and help the community. So we did that, and then we started talking. It's like, okay, well, we're doing a lot of barbecue and we're doing a lot of this. Why don't we just look at, opening up and becoming partners? And so in October of 2020, we actually found the spot that we've been in now for a little over 5 years.
Wow. That's very cool. What
Yeah.
percentage of your business is catering?
The restaurant's very small, so we only have 24 seats. So 90% is to go. I would say we're doing probably about 60% of it is catering and
Okay.
pop-ups
Is
that
that
we do.
mostly drop-off catering, or do you do a lot of full-service events?
Well, it's mostly drop-off. We do some staffed weddings and different parties, anniversaries and stuff like that. But most of it's corporate, especially being, in the Plano area, it's everything's corporate here.
Right. Do you have a food truck you do full-service events out of, or you just roll up in a van and Cambros and set up buffets?
I use my truck for everything, and we roll up. Sometimes we'll put a couple tents out and literally put a little Blackstone griddle out there and heat up
Yeah.
tortillas and do taco bar. Taco bar is one of our highest selling items that we have because we use our barbecue in it, and so everybody loves it.
Yeah. That's awesome. It sounds like a great concept. Like, I haven't eaten lunch, and I wish you were like right across the street because I could get some. Because I love barbecue, I love tacos.
Yeah,
You know, can't go wrong with either one. So, how'd you start promoting because obviously catering is a huge part of your business, right? And
yeah.
profitability and free marketing. How did you start building your catering sales?
So we started with, I think almost everybody does, is word of mouth, but then we got on Easy Cater, and that does the marketing for you. It's just they take their percentage. So what we usually do is we'll do like a first catering with Easy Cater, and then I'll call and follow up within sometimes the same day, sometimes a couple days later, and I'll talk to them about doing just direct sales with them. And usually about 60% of people will say, yeah, once I explain that, hey, you're paying fees for this and I'm paying fees, It's a whole lot easier if you just order directly from me. I have my own invoicing system. And I said, you do a couple caterings with me, I'll give you a 15% off your first catering, and then you can build up loyalty, points with me and all that stuff. So,
So are you giving
that's
them
easiest.
are you giving them loyalty points for your food, or do you give them gift cards to other businesses like Amazon or Target? Or now
I've
people
never
probably
done,
want gas
yeah.
cards.
Yeah, I know, kidding, right? I've never really thought about doing other gift cards for people. Most of it is I'll give them like a 10% loyalty discount for ordering from us, because now I've converted. I'm all about building relationships. So everybody I talk to is like, look, I'm not looking for just one catering from you. I want to do most of your catering, because we're very vast on what we can do, and and we can do different things, and all you have to do is ask, just like what you're looking for, and we can put it together for you.
So because you have a culinary background, sort of have an advantage in that. So if somebody comes to you and they want whatever, you can make it happen. So that gives you
Yeah, I have
pick.
one concept that we do pop-ups at corporate offices as well. So we'll go there and set up and have a designated spot. One of them is like, hey, we're looking for some Italian food. Can you do something with Alfredo? I said, yeah, we can put together something. So we did a tasting with them, not the other day, and we just use our barbecue chicken breast in it. So it's really not that more expensive than doing anything else.
It's funny is, what a lot of people don't realize is the most expensive thing in business is acquiring a customer, right? And
Right.
so you realize that, hey, once I've got that customer, it's easy for me to sell them something else or more often than it is to go find another customer. And
Exactly.
so I think that is lost on a lot of people. We did that at Corky's. We started off, we were barbecue for years, and then this
Mhm.
big catfish outfit, Uncle Bud's Catfish, they went out of business. And we're like, hey, there's a gap in the marketplace for fried catfish. So we got some, what are they called? 35-pound fryers. I don't even remember. I've been
Right.
out of it so long, and we got them hooked in propane and the pop-up tents, and we go fry
Yeah.
catfish on site, right? And people loved it. They could get barbecue and catfish or catfish. We did some fajita bars. We would grill hamburgers and hot dogs and chicken breasts. We did some other stuff because if somebody trusts you to take care of them, that's the easiest sale to make, right? Is sell them
Right.
different things. And I think that's
We don't
lost.
do a whole lot. With my wife's from Venezuela, so that's why we started.
So
But
now, okay,
yeah,
now we're
okay.
we're 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 bringing it together.
Yeah.
So
So my wife has worked for me ever since we were at the food hall, and we found that we loved a lot of things, and we found out that we loved each other. So we slowly started kind of doing a couple different things, but we found Venezuelan food is not spicy. I don't make anything spicy because I'm a wimp. And what we found is that it brought in a whole other culture of people and introduced our regular customers into having something different, but they could still enjoy our barbecue.
are you doing? So you're riffing like, is it Venezuelan foods? They make the arepas. It's like the
Uh,
corn
yep.
buns, I guess, and you cut them in half. Yeah. So I've had that before, and it is
Yeah.
like it's crack. It's good
Yeah.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's
It
really
is.
good stuff.
And I tell you what, the cool thing about it is, I mean, it's super flavorful. I mean, almost my entire kitchen staff. Well, okay, my entire kitchen staff is from Venezuela, and so they all know how to make,
Let me guess, your
everything.
wife's head of recruiting.
Yes, because there's always people, always. So, but my mother-in-law, she's in her late 60s, and she's had to cut back a little bit, but she's in charge of all that, prepping that stuff. And I mean, she doesn't stop. You have to make her stop. But we do the arepas, we do empanadas, we do ones called cachapas, which is like a cheese, like a pancake with a special cheese that goes in it. But everything also we transfer into, and you can put our brisket on there, you can put our pulled pork or sausage, whatever you want.
Yeah,
And
it's basically like it's a canvas for whatever flavors you want to put on there.
exactly.
And barbecue, everybody loves barbecue, and then most traditional barbecue, it's served on with a bun or a roll.
Right.
You do have some people. There's a place down here that was doing corn cakes or corn light bread. So it's perfect. It's a perfect
Mm-hmm.
company, and it's something you're not going to get. Let's face it, selling barbecue in Texas is like selling ice to Eskimos. I mean,
Well, and
it's everywhere.
that's it. You got to find your niche.
You have a point of differentiation that they can't get. They can't go to anybody else down the street that does not have what you have. So that's pretty cool. I want to
Yeah,
go
and
back.
the sure.
Go ahead. No, no, no. Go ahead.
I was gonna say one thing is about this is, all this stuff. Most of the stuff from the Venezuelan side is all gluten free too. So we have a handful, or actually more than a couple of handfuls of customers that are all gluten free. So it gives them another venue to come in and have that choice.
That's awesome. You mentioned something about you're a relationship person. So I'm going to put together. I like to connect dots and tell me if I'm
Sure.
connecting the right dots or the wrong dots. So your dad had an ambulance service, right?
Huh? Yeah.
Did he specialize in going to nursing homes? Did he do a lot of nursing home business?
We did. Well, he had this service in Bozeman, Montana. So that was before the fire department started running the
Yeah.
ambulance services. So we did everything. We did the 911 calls. We did all the nursing homes. We did
But
transfers
did y'all
to
do a
the
lot of
cities. Yeah.
nursing homes?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I'm gonna guess your dad was probably a really good people person, connected, made those relationships with the nursing home. I know somebody in New York in the nursing home business, and
Right.
I know a little bit about everything and ask probably too many questions. That's why we've got a podcast.
Well,
Is
the other
is
thing
it
is on that. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's probably you
One.
have to build a relationship with that nursing home director and staff that they're going to call
Yeah.
you to transport that patient if there's a problem. And so that's probably where you learned it, if not directly, vicariously. Like, I don't know if your father taught it to you or you just saw the way he dealt with people and you picked it up.
I worked for him for a long time, but his initial career he was a funeral director, so he ran funeral homes. So that's where he got his people skills from, because you have to console all these people through some of these people's worst times of their lives.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've said this on other podcasts. The people who get in the restaurant business that have a sales background or feel comfortable talking to people are always the most successful. I had somebody ask me, he goes, "Well, what if I'm not comfortable making phone calls or talking to people?" I go, "You better find somebody because you're not going to sell any catering if you're scared to pick up the phone and talk to people. Period."
Yeah, exactly. And I'd rather start a conversation with you and to talk about barbecue. I can talk to people all day long about barbecue, and as long as you get them that first sample or that first bite of food, you get them hooked.
That's the advantage that you have in experiential things that you can experience. You test drive a car. Well, you either like the car or not. I mean, it's very
Right.
simple. I've driven enough cars to know I would love to buy this, or I wouldn't buy it if you gave it to me. It's
Yeah.
terrible. And the same thing with food. Like, I'm definitely a foodie. I love to
Yeah.
cook. I
Me
love to go
too.
out to eat. And so, you give me a plate of your food, I'm going to tell you whether I want you to cater my event or not, because
Uh-huh.
if I'm not going to eat it, why would I want you to serve it?
Exactly.
Period.
Exactly.
I can go to Costco and buy things off the shelf that's better than bad food and put it on a platter and throw a good party if that's what I want to do. So, okay, so you're a people person. How are you, you know, building catering sales, right? It's a big portion of your business.
Yeah.
Somebody listening, how do you go about doing that?
So, I've tried cold calling. I'm a really terrible cold caller because nowadays I used to. I'll back up for a second. When I worked for Baker Brothers, I did all the catering for them as well,
For who?
and I built it. It was a deli, a local deli
Okay.
here.
Okay.
They're not around anymore. But I had the highest catering sales out of any stores, and I had the smallest restaurant. And back then, all you had to do was walk into any office, and you could talk to anybody. Now
Right.
you can't walk in. You just can't walk into the office. Most of the time, security meets you in the parking lot, and you try and cold call now, because I tried a stint of doing that to build some more sales at the beginning of the year, and everybody's got AI answering. And so you're hitting roadblocks to roadblocks to roadblocks, just trying to talk to somebody. So what I've been focusing on is we have a lot of really large construction companies here. And so I've been lucky enough to get into, I have like 3 or 4 regular customers that are all the big construction companies that we can go out, they have their safety meetings once a month. So we go out there and cater breakfast for 250 guys. And that's makes a pretty nice paycheck.
That's a good niche. Have you done a topping out party?
I don't know what that is that
So
when they put the Christmas tree or something on top of the building? I don't know.
that's when the roof goes on the building, the contractor throws a party for all the subs. So when they're the Tennessee Titans, they're building a new stadium.
Right.
When they built the original stadium and I had Corky's, they called us and we fed 2,000 construction workers for their topping out
Wow.
party.
Yeah.
So there's all these little niches,
Right.
out there. And, that's as good as any other niches that you've been successful with.
Mhm. Um, a lot of it is, if I can bring samples out to people, that's one of the biggest things because once they taste it, they're pretty well hooked. I've been really kind of forcing myself not forcing myself, but you know, getting into where I can market more because usually I was doing everything. Now my wife helps me out with a lot more of the scheduling stuff and everything else like that. So, I did a charity shoot for Patriot Paws last Friday. So I actually brought out just made some flyers on through the computer and chat GPT to where, it's like, if you have, I'll give you 15% off if you mention that you're at the shoot and, and it's over $400. I had probably about 5 or 6 people pick up those flyers. So just getting in front of people is my biggest niche right
Yeah.
now.
So I'm going to share something. And you said it before, and, my brain is like a squirrel in a pinball machine. It's going
I
everywhere.
understand that.
I'm always a big believer in adding value as opposed to discounting.
Okay.
And, I would test, and again, testing proves out everything, as opposed to offering a 10% discount or 15% discount, offer them 10% back in gift cards, right? Because that admin who's ordering, it's not her money, right? If you and your
Right.
wife are throwing a party for your mother-in-law birthday party, it's your money, right? You want the discount.
Yeah.
But if you work for ABC Corporation and you're ordering catering, it's like I'm not. If I save my boss, 25 or $50 on this event, it doesn't go in my pocket. Doesn't matter to
Right.
me. But if it's like, oh, it's good food, it's in my budget, and I'm going to earn a $50 gift card that I can then take my wife out to dinner, well, sign me
Hmm.
up.
That's a really good idea.
So it's always what's in it for me, right?
Right. I know with a lot of the pharmaceutical reps, I have probably about 20 of those people that I work with on a regular. They like the loyalty points so they can come in on their days off and eat for free or whatever else like that.
Yeah.
So
Did you pick those guys up from Easy Cater?
some of them and some just came into the restaurant one day and said, "Hey, do you cater?" And that's that's what I've pretty much found, or it's word of mouth between, you know, uh, I've had past people say, "Hey, I'm moving to a different sector, you know, this person's going to take over for me, but they're going to order from you." So,
So there's a lot of
sometimes,
word of mouth in that business
yeah,
and cross
yeah,
pollination. Do you do anything to promote the catering in the restaurant?
not as much as I should. I was listening to one of your podcasts earlier this week where, to put the fishbowl out and get the cards and build we did just launch a new website beginning of the month. So that also has the CRM on there so we can start collecting some more names and everything as well.
Yeah, I think table tents, washroom signs, if you do to go, put a catering flyer in there, anything you can do, because the people who love your food are most likely to order it, right? They know you, they trust you, they like you.
Right.
So all that stuff definitely works. What do you think your biggest challenges are as far as catering goes?
A lot of it is competition. I mean, especially being here in Texas, I mean, there's barbecue on almost every corner.
Right.
And so, that's one of the biggest things, because you're competing with everything else, and of course with prices the way they've been, going up, you have to stay competitive because you got all these. I mean, I got a phone call today. It's like, well, how much is your taco bar? And I said, well, it runs $22 a person, but it's all inclusive because you get everything with it. And she's like, "Oh, well, we're looking for $15 a person. Can you do it for that?" And I said, "I can maybe do one meat for you, not three." Um, but it's the budgeting. People just can't afford a whole lot.
Well, what's crazy is, but they go to the store and now ground beef's $10 a pound, right? It's like
Yeah, exactly.
you're paying for ground beef, what you used to pay for ribeyes, and it's like, what do you think a guy is going to buy it, cook it, take care of the overhead, right? And I
Yeah,
think a lot of times it's educating people to, hey, what do you pay when you go to the grocery store, right?
yeah,
It's not cheap, and I guess the only way that you can really save them money is reducing the number of meats or less expensive proteins, right? Ribs are more expensive, brisket's more expensive, or hey, self-service versus full service. But,
yeah.
when I'm listening, the tacos, the Venezuelan twist, you definitely have some point of differentiation that you need to beat
Right.
that drum loud, right? Like you can get
Yeah,
brisket on any corner in Dallas market, but you can't get what we're selling.
exactly.
And
And that
so,
that's one of our biggest selling points as well, is like, we have different venues for you that you could try and not have to spend that big dollar.
right, for sure. And you're doing other types of catering. So there are things that you can do that are less expensive if they're truly on a budget.
Right.
And, the key is to find the people who aren't on a budget. That's,
Yeah.
find
That's
more
that's where
people.
we're trying to get now is um I'm trying to take a little bit more time during the week to make some phone calls, to schedule a time where I can come out and bring you out some samples, because the samples basically, talk for themselves,
Yeah, so
you
I'm
know.
gonna I'm gonna share a couple of little tips I did. When I first started my restaurant, I didn't have time. I was like you, you're running around, you're going to Sam's Club, you're going to Cisco, Shinkari,
Yeah.
washing dishes, you're doing whatever it takes, right? And then at a certain point, I sort of said, there's nothing going on between 2 to 4 that I need to be here for. So just
Mhm.
walk away from your restaurant, go to a coffee shop, take your laptop and if you put in an hour a day, 5 days a week, you've put in 250 hours a year growing your catering sales, which
Yeah.
is huge. That's huge to be able
Exactly.
to do
Yeah.
that. But you have to put yourself in that place,
Yeah.
right?
And that's it. I mean, I work from home a lot because I find that every time I'm in the restaurant, somebody will come in and say, "Hey, is Tim around?" And then an hour later, after chatting with them and everything else, and then you find other things to do, then your day goes away.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are only going to be answering their phone at certain times of the day because they're busy as well.
Yeah, exactly. Another good source is email, if you can find people's emails, but LinkedIn, right?
Hmm.
Connecting on LinkedIn. And, one thing I used to do when I didn't have the time to take food out to people, I would invite them in for lunch on me. And then I could sit down with
Right.
them for 5 minutes and give them an assortment of food. And that helps sell catering a lot, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sampling is a huge, huge thing.
Well, and that's it. I mean, I'm doing a really big wedding, for me is big, in July, and I invited them, the parents come in and eat, and so they came in and eat. And the next week they brought one of their sons in to eat, and then they brought the bride and the groom in to eat. And so, I mean, they paid for it all, so I didn't have to,
Yeah,
sling them any free food really. But I mean, they loved it, and they're like, "We can't wait, so we're coming in tonight to eat."
that's awesome.
It's that, and like I told the lady or the mom, I said, "Look," I said, "this is, you got your kids that are in prime, I guess, wedding age. It's like, so this is a test for us to be able to sample for their friends, because their friends are in that stage of where they're going to get married as well. So, this is what we want to do to try and grow the business is, basically we're sampling for 200 people, to hopefully get other
And
business out of it as
you're
well."
getting paid to do it.
Exactly, exactly.
And it's either gonna be more catering business or restaurant sales, so
Mhm.
it definitely is a win-win. So what's next as you look forward? You're gonna build more locations? Are you gonna just focus on doing more out of what you're doing? What's next?
The biggest goal that my wife and I have talked about is getting a food truck or a food trailer so we can start doing more events and going to the people. I mean, I get calls probably 2 or 3 times a week. Hey, you have a food truck, or hey, I'm having an event, this or that. We have been lucky enough to where we've been invited. We're going next weekend for we went last year for a food and wine festival in Plano. We're doing another one in Frisco in, next week. So that gets our food out in front of everybody.
Is that like a catering opportunity or a vending opportunity?
So it's more of a sampling opportunity.
I gotcha. Are you
Yeah,
collecting
so
names there?
I will be, yes.
Good.
We're looking at, because we're doing 1,300 samples for them. The nice thing is we get invited, so we don't have to pay for everything except for the health department stuff, or the
Nice.
permit. We did it. We got a little bit of return the last time, but I'll definitely have you know people to put their cards in and collect names and everything for future caterings as well.
Yeah, we're building a system with landing pages and QR codes, so they don't even have to fill out anything. They just scan a QR code, fill out a form to win something, and it's in your database, and you can start marketing to them. So
Nice.
it removes the friction, right? Because we
Yeah.
restaurant owners are the worst marketers. We're food
Right.
people, right? We're not business people as a general
Yeah.
rule. And so you need to think about where's the friction in your business so you can eliminate. I hate friction.
Yeah.
Whether it's operations, I remember years ago reading The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, and I started checklists. I mean, this is going back years ago to make sure everything got done consistently. And so I definitely like systems. I don't like problems.
Right, exactly. And that's the thing. And with AI coming out, I've been able to get more stuff done because I can just go on Chat GPT and say, hey, I need this. And I know that you can kind of go down that whole rabbit hole sometimes where it'll take you places you don't need to go, but it gets a little drawn out sometimes, but I can get some of the easier stuff done pretty quick.
And it's just getting better and better and better every single day.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. Definitely the stuff that we're able to accomplish, and we're not even writing software. I'm just talking about putting together reports, market studies, game
Right.
plans, that kind of stuff. And it's just it's like drinking out of a fire hose with a cocktail straw. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just overwhelming, which is great. Okay, we're about to wrap up on time.
Okay.
Anybody listening in the barbecue business looking, what's your number one catering tip for people?
For me, it's once you do one catering, or you can grab that one person, build the best relationship you can with them. And, it's basically you do whatever it takes to get their business.
Awesome.
And, it's just a matter of making sure that you take care of them, and they'll take care of you in the long run.
Yeah, that's definitely for sure. It's all about the repeat sale. We're not in the
Yeah.
one shot sale. Anyway, hey, it's
Exactly.
good talking to you, Tim. Now I'm hungry. I
Yeah.
wish you were across the street because I would get a couple of arepas filled with some brisket and I would be ready for a nap after that.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank
I
you,
totally
sir.
understand. Yeah, thank
Okay.
you.
Have a good
All
one.
right. Hey, you too. Thanks a lot.
You've been listening to Barbecue Catering Smarts, where we bring you the best ideas, stories, and strategies from across the barbecue catering industry. We hope today's episode sparked new insights to help you refine your systems, elevate your customer experience, and grow your catering profits. For more episodes and insights, be sure to subscribe, share, and join us next time.